Space news, everybody. Welcome to my channel. This is your weekly space news update. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about the fake SpaceX mission of Elon Musk. How did this happen? How was this possible? And what is SpaceX doing about it? So let's dive in and find out the real story behind this fake SpaceX mission. Okay, so first let me show you guys the tweet that Elon Musk posted on Twitter saying SpaceX has just landed Falcon 9 on landing pad LZ1 at Cape Canaveral, returning to space for the 16th time. But there's a catch here. This is not true because according to official data from the space agency, SpaceX has only landed their Falcon 9 boosters 13 times. So how did Elon Musk get this wrong? Where did this number come from? Well, this happened because of an old video that was posted by SpaceX where they were showing a Falcon 9 booster being prepared for its 16th flight. But this booster never ended up flying. So SpaceX tweeted this out in excitement, but they forgot to mention that it's just a rehearsal. They forgot to add the word rehearsal or practice in that tweet. So people got very confused and thought that SpaceX just landed their rocket for the 16th time. Which is not true. So how does a company like SpaceX make such mistakes? Well, if you think about it, this is not really a mistake. It's just a small oversight. For example, on August 2021, when SpaceX launched the Inspiration for Flight, Elon Musk tweeted that this was the first ever orbital flight with a civilian spacecraft, made by a private company. That is also not technically true because in 2001, a private space company called Space Adventures sent a civilian into space aboard a Russian Soyuz spacecraft. So again, it's not a mistake, it's just a small oversight. So how do these oversights happen? Well, I think Elon Musk sees himself as almost like a scientist, but he's actually more of an engineer. So engineers tend to focus on details, whereas scientists are more focused on the big picture. So I think Elon Musk gets lost in the details sometimes and he forgets to zoom out and look at the big picture, and then he makes these small mistakes. And I know it sounds weird coming from me because I'm an engineer too, but trust me, this happens all the time. I do it all the time. Sometimes I get so focused on one little detail that I forget to look at the bigger picture. So I totally understand how this could happen to Elon Musk, okay? So now let's move on to our next story, okay? So next let us talk about the Starship Super Heavy booster prototype that exploded during a pressure test at the SpaceX testing facility in Boca Chica, Texas. We already knew this was coming because we have seen it happen many times before. But what's interesting about this explosion is that it happened during a cryo-proof test. This is when the rocket is filled with super cold liquid nitrogen instead of liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. So why did they use liquid nitrogen? Well, SpaceX is probably trying to mimic an actual Starship launch. Remember how the first Starship Super Heavy booster exploded on the launch pad back in February? Well, that happened because the concrete under the launch mount cracked due to the extreme temperatures. Liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen are extremely cold. In fact, they're colder than liquid nitrogen. So SpaceX probably wanted to see if they could replicate the conditions that caused the February explosion. And it looks like they did because the concrete under the launch mount did crack, and that caused the explosion. So this is a good thing. Now SpaceX knows exactly what caused the previous explosion. I mean, they already knew, but now they can fix it. Okay, so now let's move on to our final story. Okay, so finally, let's talk about Blue Origin, the company founded by Jeff Bezos. Their rocket, the New Glenn, is supposed to be launched later this year, but that might not happen. Why? Well, according to the CEO of Euler, their rocket engine supplier, the BE for engines that are supposed to power the New Glenn are not ready yet. So maybe the first launch of the New Glenn will happen sometime next year. But here's the thing, even if the New Glenn does fly this year, it won't be able to compete with the Falcon 9 because the New Glenn is a medium lift rocket. It can only lift about 40 tons to low Earth orbit, whereas the Falcon 9 can lift over 60 tons to low Earth orbit. Not to mention the Falcon 9 is reusable and the New Glenn is not. So yeah, the New Glenn will have a hard time competing with the Falcon 9, let alone the Falcon Heavy. Well, that's it for this episode. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more updates on everything aerospace industry and interstellar exploration related. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time.